Welcome to a water-soaked, waterlogged Gillette Stadium, week number 2 of Patriots OTAs. I'm Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist and writer for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. Okay, Chris, we arrive at Gillette Stadium here on Thursday morning, and we're thinking to ourselves, this has got to be in the field house, right? This has got to be in the bubble. It's a mess out there. Don't want to take the chance of anybody getting hurt, blah, 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 blah. Sure enough, the OTAs, a good hour and half, almost 100 minutes worth, outside in the pouring rain, the waterlogged grass fields outside behind Gillette Stadium here. Why did they do it?
You want to put a little pressure on guys. You want to see how they do in certain situations that are not ideal. And they'll tell you, and the guys talked to us downstairs after practice, they said, look, we play in this over the course of the year, so this is not a real surprise. One thing, and I think we were talking about it while we were out there too, they were making some pretty severe cuts. They were moving, especially the offensive skill position guys, were moving in a way that made it suggest that it wasn't a perfect situation if you're putting a lot of pressure on some knees, but they got through it. There were no injuries. It looked like a pretty fair practice this afternoon.
I was talking to Danny Amendola down in the locker room. We had availability with several Patriots players, as we normally do once a week during these OTAs, and he said the biggest thing about practicing in conditions like this is you focus on every single move, every single cut, like you mentioned, every single flash for a pass pattern out in the open. You have to make sure that everything you do is precise because of the elements.
Exactly. I mean, you just can't simply go through a routine. It forces you, to Danny's point, to your point, to be a little bit more precise, to be a little bit sharper when you're going through these drills, because you do have to focus. Obviously, you want to focus on every rep, you want to focus on every situation, you want to take advantage of every opportunity, regardless of who you are out there. But at the same time, this gives the pass catchers, this gives some of the other guys a chance to really gain some focus, really gain a bit of an edge when you're going out there in conditions like this.
All right, we had our first look at boy wonder Jimmy Garoppolo wearing number 10, a little bit shorter on the field than I kind of expected. The modern day quarterback, Brady obviously is 6'4", Ryan Mallett even taller, 6'5", but by comparison, he's just about 6'1", and he had a couple of adjustments to make out there. He's pulling back from center for the first time in a long time. Obviously in college he played in the shotgun quite a bit. He is pulling back from center, had a couple of fumbles out there, a couple of picks, but that's to be expected.
Exactly. At this point in his professional career, what you're looking for is just that he's not overwhelmed, that he's not, he's not out of shape. He's being asked to do an awful lot at this stage of his, professional lifespan. And so what they're just looking for him is just to be a little bit further along in the offense every single day. We talked to Julian Edelman, we talked to Brandon LaFell, we talked to Danny Amendola downstairs, and they all said he's doing a good job picking things up. It's still very early, so you're not expecting a quantum leap his first few months in the system, but again, all you want from a guy like that at this stage of his career is that he does not appear overwhelmed, that he's not making the same mistakes over and over again. And to your point, Mike, and I think it's a good one, the thing to look for when it comes to Garoppolo is the fact he hasn't worked under center. He didn't work under center over the course of his college career. He only worked in shotgun. So making that transition is going to be something to watch for over the spring and summer practice sessions.
And let's move on to some of the other notes, news and notes of practice today, OTAs. More specifically, and that is Logan Mankins returned. Rob Gronkowski again was out there during the preliminary warm-ups, really before practice began. He was doing some cutting on that knee, and that is obviously a good sign. He eventually went into the bubble, so did Vince Wilfork with the rehab group. But some other takeaways that you noticed during the 100 minutes.
Again, I think, going back to what we were talking about Garoppolo, when it comes to the rookies, you don't want them to appear to be overwhelmed. You don't want them to be kind of thrown into the deep end. They looked fairly natural. Again, these are OTAs. Guys are wearing T-shirts and shorts and
no
helmets.
Pads, no shells.
Exactly, no shells. So it's still very early on in the process. These guys, you're talking about the course of a full season. If this is a marathon, we're not even at mile 1 yet for this group. So what we've seen to this point was good. Ball security today I thought was very interesting. It looked like there were a couple of guys who had problems hanging onto the ball in the wet conditions. But kind of broad brushing it didn't appear to be a major issue when you're being outside. But it's just guys looking to build a foundation at this time of year. Whether you're on offense, whether you're on defense, you want to get the playbook down, you want to get the schemes down, you want to get personnel combinations down, and I thought they accomplished those today.
You were in on the group, the scrum around Brandon LaFell afterwards. what were some of your takeaways from what he had to say about getting used to, the Patriots system? I will tell the viewers and listeners out there that one thing he mentioned was it's not a number system, it's a code, a word system.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And the other thing was, I asked him very specific. I said, what's the one thing you really want to do when it comes to these OTAs? What's your one goal? He says, learn the playbook. I have to be able to get in that playbook. I have to be able to know what I need to do so Tom Brady has the faith in me down the road to throw me the football. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he's acclimating fairly well to the situation to this point in his time with New England. But again, time will tell with that kind of situation.
And one more quick note, Stephen Ridley, I thought was sensational, as he normally is,
He's
talking to
really
us.
good, yeah.
And he was talking, this is a great day to talk to Stephen Ridley because it was rainy, it was wet, it was miserable. And toward the end of OTAs, they worked on, as they do during the course of the season, ball security drills and defensive players wrapping at him from each side going down the line. Your thoughts on Stephen Ridley and how focused and determined he is coming into this season, starting with the OTAs?
He has a really interesting year because it's not just trying to bounce back from last season and the ball security issues he had last season. He's going into the final year of his rookie contract. And so you're looking at a guy who is kind of dealing with two different things. I'm not going to call them problems, but two different major issues ahead. If he can overcome the ball security issues, he's going to be okay, and I think he has a chance to be another 1,000-yard rusher. But then there's the question of the contract hanging over his head, and what his future is, and what his future is going to be, whether it's in New England or somewhere else. It's going to be a really interesting year. He's going to be one of those guys to watch. Shane Vereen's going into the same situation. He's going into the last year of his rookie deal as well. So there could be some turnover there at the running back position. It's going to be interesting to watch again how Ridley responds. Not just the ball security issues, but what his future is going to be here in New England.
All right, two notables not here. Aaron Dobson, the wide receiver, maybe dealing still with a foot issue.
Yes.
And Alfonzo Dennard still not here in camp or with the team in these organized team activities. Any idea, any guess as to when Dennard might join the team?
I don't know about Dennard, but from what I understand about Dobson, it's not considered serious. I do think that the team would obviously love to have him here and have him get as many reps as possible within the system, coming off what was an occasionally uneven rookie year. But yeah, I don't think either of those are going to be long-term issues when it comes to both of their futures here in New England.
All right, one more week of OTAs, then June minicamp, and then the team gets some well-deserved time off before they come back for training camp in July at a very soggy Gillette Stadium. He's Christopher Price. I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.